And we're back. Welcome to Direction Beyond, your Starfinder news, reviews, and interviews podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jefferson J. Thacker, also known as Param, and I'm joined by
Alexander Agunas, the Everyman Gamer.
And I'm James. I write Code Switch.
Well, everyone, we have just, and by just, it's actually been a week. And by week, I actually mean, oh my gosh, it's been a week since Gen Con 2019, where at least me and James, we put in some work.
You more than me, Param. Jeez, man, you are a hero.
Oh, we survived it. And we met, for those of you who do not know, and I do not know how you do not know if you're listening to this network, we had partnered with Paizo to live stream the entirety of their Gen Con presentations. That would be myself and Vanessa Hoskins and Lauren Sieg and, of course, James Ballard.
Yep, that's James.
And we nailed it. It was a fantastic production. It looked wonderful. We had so many people in the audience. It was great. We got to see so much Starfinder and Pathfinder news, and we got to interview so many of the staff behind the scenes. Those seminars were live on Twitch. You can still watch them there. I know they'll be coming out on YouTube soon, and they have already started to hit our podcast stream. So if you're interested in any of the news coming out of Gen Con, go check out that podcast con stream. But
yeah, I'd also like to personally thank most of the people that asked questions on Twitch. In general, questions were great when they weren't terrible, but most of them were great. It was more of an issue of getting to use most of them rather than going, these are all terrible.
Yeah,
so good questions.
Don't worry, No Direction family. We know none of you asked any of those terrible questions. How our D20 work?
Is that really a question you guys got?
No, we got. What was the weirdest one we got?
I do not know. I thankfully was over manning the different camera transitions and the audio levels and doing the interviews between the panels. I did not handle the questions at all. It was basically you and Lauren. I
think the funniest question, at least to me, was as they were doing the Pathfinder 2E panel and like the very first one, and they were getting up on stage. I was like taking questions, and then one comes across that goes, "What happened to Aridin?" And as soon as that happens, Jason Bowman just goes, "Yeah, and we're not asking any questions about Aridin. Just get that out of your head." And I go, "Sucks to be you."
Oh,
not taking that one. Rejected.
Yeah. But I mean, Pathfinder 2 definitely stole the show for most of Gen Con. I mean, it was everywhere and evidently a massive success. If you were to listen to the Paizo employees talk about it after the fact, it sold a ton of copies. But of course, it wasn't the only thing at the show. There was nice...
At least not from Paizo.
No, there was nice, lovely Starfinder content to talk about.
There was.
There were Starfinder panels about how to design planets. They announced some book. The one.
You want some book?
Yeah, they announced
Singular.
a book. They also announced a cool card set. And, of course, there was lots of Starfinder Society play, which James and Alex, you're going to be needing to be the ones to tell us about that. So let's start there.
So much fun.
What did you all spend your time doing when you were not chained to the streaming room?
Well, let's see. I was not chained to the streaming room. I was told by everybody, "Hey, you chained yourself at Seattle. You should go run and be free." And so I was like, but I kept my schedule clear because I thought that I was going to be chained to this room again. And they're like, no, just go be free. So I had to like buy general tickets for everything except for the Starfinder special because that was the only thing I put time in advance for to have. Like I didn't volunteer to run any games this year because I thought I'd be in the room with Param again, and then that plan changed. They're like, "No, you did too much," and I was like, "Oh, okay." Mm-hmm. So I ended up playing 3 games of Starfinder Society in total. I played 199, the new special. I played Herald's War, and I played Futures Fall. Herald's War is like the last high tier game before the special, and Futures Fall is the first one after the special.
Yeah, the one before the special is really fun, that last high tier encounter, because it does something that you haven't seen done in any of the creatures in previous Starfinder Society scenarios, and it really puts you in a, oh geez, this is important kind of moments.
That scenario was rough for us. It was very clearly designed for a party that had an operative, and our team consisted of a soldier, a Solarian, a multi-class soldier Solarian, and an envoy. So James had to carry us through everything. Mitsuka Hane for the win.
Oh, about
And-
the special. That's it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the special was rough because, boy, man, DCs and Starfinder are very rough, especially on high
Brutal.
tier. I think the average DC for that special is like 32 on a skill check.
Oh, it's
Right.
so
7 to 8,
hard.
or 8 to 10.
Yeah, it's really really tough. I think the skill checks might have been too high, and at least to me it was. So I've done lots of specials where I've had to do it with a 4-player. This is the first table where I felt like not having a 4-player adjustment was brutal. Like it was the worst. Like what I wouldn't have given just to have like Osif or some other iconic at our table with us. Please,
Yeah.
Pre-Gen, make all the skill checks.
Even if we had like all of our encounters be regular fights, we were a good fighting party. It's
We
just there's
were.
a point where action economy takes precedent over class and personal ability.
Well, we did okay at all the fights. They took forever, but we weren't in like we didn't take a lot of damage. We did pretty good on.
You didn't take a lot of damage.
I mean, I have great armor and an amazing dexterity, and also I got to grapple a guy out of a helicopter and throw him to the ground. It was amazing. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't grapple in Starfinder, kids. The answer is be a Skittermander and take improved maneuver and have a strength bonus. And then you can grapple all the space crabs out of the helicopters and throw the Jinsels to their death like 30 feet below.
I can't believe you made your new friend a grappler.
Yeah, oh, he's great. It's there because sometimes you just need to get people to stop for a minute and listen to what you have to say. And if they're pinned to the ground, they can't shoot you.
Yeah, just give him a good old suplex. That's the
Yeah.
the Skittermander hello.
It's not like Pathfinder where like you get the option to punch the person in the face when you do it. You just hold them there. So I just hold them there, and I don't do it very often. Most of the time, I just manifest my Solarian hammer and bop them on the head. It's great. But I do have the revelation that lets me make my weapon merciful whenever I want. So that it doesn't
So it's a
have to kill them.
giant squeaky hammer?
Yep. His name is Daxon Ray. His name was Dax, but he came to the Pack Worlds from the Veskarium and really liked the Pack Worlds interpretation of the Dawnflower. So he decided to adopt most of the syllables in Saren Ray's name as his own. Yeah, and it was a lot of fun. Even in that scenario where it was rough, and honestly, the worst parts is when we did starship combat with two soldiers and a Solarian. Like we were at the point where like Mitsuka Hana, you have to do everything for us, please.
Please be our captain. Please be our engineer, our science officer. Help.
Yeah. Please do everything. And so, like the first starship combat that we got in, because this scenario had 2 of them, Param.
We did it 3
Wait,
times.
what? I thought that was forbidden.
No, there were like 2. Then there was an option to take a third. One of them is mandatory, and you can't get out of it.
Which is
Like-
par for the course.
Yeah, but like in the one that we did, we wrecked them the same phase they wrecked us. We both knocked each other's hull points to 0.
That was well. We are going to refer to that in remembrance as the Doritos incident. Because we really took our eyes off the prize there, and it almost cost
We
us.
did. We took our eyes off of those Doritos, man.
Whenever you're faced with a starship hauling Doritos for an ancient evil empire, kill the Dorito ship. Don't
Yeah.
get distracted.
Yeah, just get rid of it.
Yeah.
But so the other Starfinder scenarios I did the one is called Futures Fall, and it takes place on the Salvation's End moon, which if you play a lot of Starfinder Society, you know that it's a very cool place where Salvation's End usually takes a look at the Pathfinder setting in Starfinder. This one looks like into the future, and as soon as they start talking about what basically happened, like both in character and out of character, I started screaming. It is a very cool but I did the same thing in the first time we went there with the dwarves. Like when I realized what was going on and what time period it was, I started screaming. And so in this one, when I realized what was happening and what the thing in the sky meant, for no spoilers, what the thing in the sky meant, I started screaming. Ah! And then I started texting on my Facebook about how Thirsty broke the setting and stuff. It was a lot of fun. He gave me likes, and it was good. And then the other one, Harold's War, is kind of like the lead up to the special. You have to do a big push against the Jin Souls, and it introduces the antagonists of the special, and you have to fight them in the final combat. And I was not ready for how that character was introduced. It was very brutal. I was very scared when people told me that last fight was rough, and I didn't believe them because we did the fight. I was like, "Oh, this isn't so bad." And then the bad part happened. I was like, "No, no, 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 no!" And it just got really, really bad, really, really fast.
Yeah, I ran that, and I told everybody to put their carry pants on, and they did, and they almost still didn't finish it. So
No, you can't carry. Like that monster is anti-carry, James. I don't blame them.
yeah, no, it's the only enemy that I've seen so far that has the action economy to match player tables.
Its ability that gives it that action economy has a limited number of uses, James, and you know what it's tied to.
Mm-hmm.
We burned it out. We didn't win until it was out of them. That's how long it took.
Mm-hmm.
It took forever. It was scary. I liked it, but it was terrifying, but I liked it.
Yeah, I just GM'd some Starfinder. It was games that I GM'd at home, so it was just fun running some people through different things. I had a really fun table of like two dads with their two sons each, and it was a good time. Everybody had a good time. So I like having nice, friendly tables. Only one of my tables anybody actually took society credit. They were just kind of people looking to play games while they were out at the con.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a pretty good time. I'm glad they could tolerate me on like 3 and 6 hours of sleep over a day and 2 day period. Alex was my angel.
I literally ran around and brought him food and drink pretty much the entire con. I did nothing but sustain James.
Everybody else would go to eat from our party, and then they'd just message me like, "You want food?" And the answer was yes, please.
Well, it got to the point where like I started buying you food, and you were like, "No, you should ask me first." And I was like, "But should I?"
Yes,
should
the
I?
one time, yes.
But you ate that anyway.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. No, listen, you were like, "Oh, you should." I already went in line. You should have asked me, but I gave you the food, and you still ate it. It saves you from having to walk to dinner. I was still right.
Yeah.
It just was really cold by the time you got to eat.
Yeah. But yeah. So go ahead, Perry.
Now, I have a question. Did you do any of the red eye shifts?
No. We ended up doing specials. So the specials let out at 1 because Paizo's a bunch of masochists and don't want to start it at a reasonable time. We were at a place that was about 45 minutes outside, so it would take us about 45 minutes, an hour to get home. So we'd get back to the apartment at like 2, and then we'd have to wake up at like 6 to get ready to go back.
You didn't have an apartment on site. You didn't have a hotel room in block.
We had a closer place, but it got snatched up. So
yeah, our original place was like 10-20 minutes away, which would have been so much better. It would have saved us 40 minutes of sleep a night. 40 minutes.
yeah.
But the moral of the story is that, if you plan to do the morning slot stuff, prepare to suffer if you're not in the block.
Yeah.
That's right, friends. You can take a picture of my face doing this and be prepared to suffer at the bottom, and it can be a new No Direction meme.
And it's getting so hard to get a block hotel anymore. I mean, they have record attendance this year. There are technically, so they did a bunch of news announcements because they're building some hotels, and then a bunch of the hotels are saying, "Don't build any more hotels because business." And it's like there are 30,000 hotel rooms in all of Indianapolis, and 70,000. 70,000 Gen Con attendees this year.
Yeah, and no way a bunch of those are local or anything.
Well, I mean, I guess
possible.
I guess it comes down to, is Indianapolis going to invest in conventions so that it can keep that hotel industry active, like more than just one weekend a year? Because if they're building all those hotels just for Gen Con, then I understand where the hotel people are coming from, because that means the competition is going to be cutthroat every other weekend in the year. But if the city invests on getting more conventions to come to the city, and that so that they have more customers, like, it could work. But I guess that's for people who are actually in politics, and not for a guy who's here to talk about Starfinder news and reviews.
Yeah, he's got to beat out Chicago too. That was Philadelphia's issue. Philadelphia built this brand new convention center in 2000, and everybody just went to Baltimore because they had a better convention center still. Feels bad, man.
Yeah.
So, speaking of Starfinder news, there was 2 things announced at the convention this year. They talked a bit about.
Really cool.
Actually, they didn't talk too much about things we didn't already know. from PaizoCon with Alien Archive 3 and Com. But we did get the news of, well, we'll start with the less, I don't know if it's less exciting, but less expected product. The Deck of Many Worlds. This is a weird thing out of left field. James, are you familiar with the concept of the Deck of Many Worlds?
I am familiar with the concept of Deck of Many Worlds. It's kind of like the Deck of Many Doors in the Pathfinder thing, except each door or each card opens up a door to another planet that you can run an adventure on.
Yes, it is a extra big set of cards, 110 pack, that the cards are double-sided, and you draw 3 of the cards, and you get a picture of a planet, and then the other 2 cards, based on which ones you draw, determine like what lives on that planet, what its temperature's like, what the gravity is like. It basically just randomly generates planets. So if you're running a sandbox campaign for Starfinder and you just need a whole lot of worlds to visit, you just go, there, we're adventuring on this week.
It's really helpful after doing some like homebrew prep, and just going, how do I build a planet? I get caught in the weeds. I'm one of those people where if everything isn't actually how stuff is supposed to be, my brain just doesn't like it. So having a card just to default to would allow me to just go, no more brain power. Don't need to worry about it.
Yep.
So I think it's a welcome addition for my room anyway.
And I'm a big fan of cards.
I know you love cards. They're your favorite.
When did you start your card obsession, Param?
10 years ago.
He was a young lad. He didn't know his first card till he was a man. Harold Wizard in chat says, how do each of you plan on using the Deck of Many Worlds in your home games?
Mostly pre-session. Like, one of the things I like to do, it's an old trick I've learned a long time ago when you're setting up random encounters, is not to try to just roll on tables in the middle of the game itself. So what I like to do is I just, every so often, I'll think of what would be a cool encounter. And then I take that and I do any of the math and I put any of the treasures and I look all that stuff up and I write it down on an index card. Well, including like setup and story and all that jazz. And I put that index card away. And then I have a little plastic box filled with these little index cards of various encounter ideas I've had over the years. And every so often I go through that box and pick a few of them out. And that is what I'll add to the adventure this week.
Huh. What's the weirdest card you've ever picked up that you like don't remember writing?
It was like a band of kobold circus performers that got lost.
The best card.
A bunch of lost kobold carnies. Got it.
Love it. Oh, you know what? By the time that the Carnival Adventure Path comes out, it's going to be about like 6 months until the Pathfinder Advanced Player's Guide comes out. You could do it in 2nd edition. You can make all your players play kobolds and do kobold carnies in the Carney Adventure Path. It could be sewer dragons.
As far as my home games and that card deck, I don't run any home games right now for Starfinder, which I'm appreciative of because my time is very limited. But
and you got to give it all to me for Age of Ashes.
Yeah, I think it would be places that I would have origins of creatures come through, because I do enjoy when I have a idea statting up a creature, and then figuring out like what their ecology is to flesh it out. Because it's one of those things when I have a creature in a vacuum and I go, it has this and this, I kind of go, well, why? So having an ability to kind of have that center point to base off of basic creature or alter it to make it make sense. That's where I think I'll probably get the most use out of it.
Oh yeah, I agree. For me, like as a freelancing / authoring tool, it's going to be great because I'll just set it up and I'll shuffle the card decks and I'll just start pulling stuff and be like, oh, this is pretty cool. I can write this for this character's background or where the adventure takes place, or I don't like this card, I'm going to put this one back in a new one. I think that it's a very awesome game aid, but its ability to serve as a writing aid is equally impressive.
Yeah, that's why I think this is definitely a before the session tool. I mean, I guess you could use it during the session tool, like when the PCs just take a complete left turn and ignore your obvious hooks, and it's time to find out what happens this week, friends. Or friends, I guess.
I think I know at least if you're playing like a, what is that, Hitchhiker's Guide, where you go through different probabilities, like the same world, but different probability of what it's like each time you come back to it. That'd be fun to use that deck of many things for, or many worlds, because you come back to a different world that's the same world.
And the other thing I like about it is as a GM, I have a tendency to just make Star Wars clone planets because, like, of course it has a breathable atmosphere and it has the normal gravity because I don't want to be messed with math on gravity right now. And because, just like this would be annoying to deal with. So I don't want to deal with it right now. So all the stuff I come with on the fly is not very creative. And this will at least force me to adapt to more interesting planets than just, this is Earth 17.
This is Earth with giant robot bears.
Ba-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-da-da, roar.
And then we have they talked more at the convention about Alien Archive. They went over some of the potential companions. I don't remember what their names are off the top of my head, but they talked about 3 of them. That's definitely in the recordings of them.
Yeah, check out the seminars on that one.
Yeah. And also in the Discord chat, Louise posted some otter folk.
Oh no! Otters!
Yeah, so those look really cool from Alien Archive 3.
Yeah, they're adorable. He was telling me about them at the con after they got announced, because he literally, when the word Otterfolk popped up on screen at PaizoCon, he started messaging me in Discord saying, "I can tell you they're real, but I can't tell you anything about them other than I wrote them." These otter boys have been like killing him for the past like 3 months, 4 months, maybe even 7. I have no idea, but. Yeah, it's really cool to see them come out. Apparently, they have like magic items that they play with, and depending on what item they play with, they get a benefit. And I'm really excited to see how that works. They sound cool and also strangely adorable.
Mm-hmm.
Strangely, they are adorable. Though it is an adorable set of art for that.
Have you seen their little boots? He's a little otter in a suit with little shoes, and they're polished. I wonder if the suit is water resistant or water repellent. I need to ask Louise.
Yeah, I didn't actually think about that.
Yeah,
because you'd kind of want it if it's a spacesuit.
Mm-hmm. You would want to. Well, I mean, like otter fur itself is designed so that water will slick right off of it when they get out, so that it doesn't like actually soak them. So you would imagine that they would want to make their clothes with a similar property, because if your fur naturally slicked off water, and then like your clothing just kept it on, that's kind of counter. That's like going against evolution. That's like saying, "Oh, my lungs evolved to get carbon dioxide out of my body. Better pump it right in there."
They're called the Brenneri. They show them off during Starfinder Wednesdays. That's where the picture came from. And I've got it up on screen now for anybody who's curious to see it. Our audio listeners, you can find it, of course, all over the internet.
Oh, they're so cute.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Look at that dude and his cloak. The thing I wanted to point out is that the one that is wearing the armor on the left-hand side, his armor makes him look like a battle. Oh gosh, James is gone.
We've lost James. The otters have eaten James.
Oh, they've taken him.
They are carnivore.
That's okay. He'll be back someday. It'll just come out the other end. Anyway, they look like little sausages in tin suits, and it makes them even more adorable. I love them.
Why is Starfinder filled with so many animal people?
Because it's a very common trope. And regardless of what James says, aliens just being humanoid animals is like a huge trope in sci-fi, if only because it's really cheap to make for like the old 60s and 70s TV shows like Star Trek. You just get you make an otter mask and you put it on the dude's head and you give him gloves, and all of a sudden you're an alien. Like they did that all the time and everything. So I think that it's just part of the genre, even more so than it is in fantasy. What do you think?
There's snail people, there's walrus people, there's otter people, there's so many different wolf and cat people.
Also, I think that our ability as people to come up with something that is truly alien to us is limited, because for something to be alien, we would have to be unable to comprehend and fathom it. It's the same reason why, like, every Lovecraftian horror is basically a mass of tentacles, mouths, and eyes, because that's about the most alien thing that our minds can come up with. When in reality, an actual alien entity could just be like a sentient song, and you haven't seen that yet. Gosh, I should have done that for Crate Demi Planet. That sounds so cool.
It would be very hard to stat out a sentient song, Alex.
I could do it. If anybody in this network could do it, it would be me and Louise. But me too.
Yeah, I think Louise could totally nail it.
Yes.
All right,
Just
so I wish James were back for this, but the other big thing of news that was announced was the book, the one, and that would be
Near Space.
Near Space, as opposed to
Near- I'm
Packed
s-
Worlds, but not
Yeah,
quite the Vast.
I am glad that they're doing this book. So I want to say that it's overdue, but this is only year 3 of Starfinder.
Right.
So is it really overdue?
No, Calm is
I
overdue.
want it. Yeah, I agree. Calm is overdue. Calm should have been out much, much sooner.
Calm should have been last year's Gen Con book.
Yeah, even though Armory is cool, I think we're definitely running up on the limit of what players can expectedly waiting for. So
They need
I
to be
think
more than one player book a year.
they do. But the other thing is, like, part of me thinks that it should have been Com should have been the Gen Con release book this year. But the other fact of the matter is like we've already seen that Alien Archive 3 had to be pushed back because of the sheer amount of stuff they had at the printer. Having the player's guide get pushed back would probably be worse in the eyes of the community than an Alien Archive 3. Because for Alien Archive 3, it's like, oh, I have 1 and 2. If that's late, that's fine. But if Com was late, people would be upset. And it seems that Paizo knew there was a fair chance that it would be late because they put Alien Archive there instead, and Alien Archive 3 was late.
But Alien Archive 3 is in my coming soon shipment listing, so
I
we
just
should-
got the email today.
So we
so
should
excited.
be seeing that soon. At least the PDFs will be early
Yeah.
access, and then we will have the books, and we will talk about how great the companions are and how many cute other folks can be built.
I literally have a third party product that I want to write that I cannot write until I get Alien Archive 3 and see what the companion rules look like. So if I know if I need to make something new or if I can use that. But I've just been like, I want to do my idea. And so every day I keep like refreshing, and the email finally came out today, but now I got to wait for them to actually send it to me. So we'll see what
But
happens.
Near Space. Near Space.
Near Space.
It's going to
So-
be a setting book, similar to Packed Worlds. We do know, well, one of the only things we know is that it will have the Veskarium listed, which is a big important part of Starfinder.
Very.
Is these, the Vesk are, a core species of Starfinder. The Skittermanders are from the Veskarium, and it's an area we know very little about.
I am not sure what this book is going to look like because, with its importance in the setting, I feel like they could have just done a Veskarium book and everyone would have thought that was normal.
I'm
because
wondering if like a third of this book is just the Veskarium.
I feel like a significant chunk of it has to be. We know that system has at least 9 planets in it, and I know that there are other places in Near Space to talk about, but I can't think of anything that's more important than the Veskarium. Like so much of Starfinder's lore is tied to the Pack Worlds as a conflict with the Veskarium.
It's the Aeon Empire.
But they're in the Vast. They're not in this. They're not in Near Space. So it wouldn't make sense for that book. I think they do need an Aeon Empire book. I honestly think that no matter what they do on the Veskarium, we could do with more. But we'll have to wait and see. We don't really know anything. We don't know who their leaders are. We don't know how. We don't have a great idea what their system of government is, except Marshall. Like, I am legit excited to see what this book has to say about them. And one thing that's flying all over Twitter is that apparently they got Crystal Fraser to write the Vesk 3 entry for the Skittermanders.
Woohoo!
Yes. For those who don't know, the Skittermanders were Crystal's original creation.
And that is Crystal Fraser, former developer over at Paizo, and also current GM of our adventurous podcast here on No Direction.
Yes. And so I think that's going to be very interesting because, let's face it, pretty much anything Crystal touches is gold.
She is a brilliant writer.
Yeah, and I think that I feel like wacky, adorable fuzzballs is going to be a flavor that only plays to her strengths. So we'll just see. I'm very optimistic and excited. My initial reaction is just like this probably should have been its own book, so why wasn't it? And I'm curious to see what else is in this book that the Starfinder team thought we needed to know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and of course we are going to have this book next year. It's going to be a late next year release.
Isn't it the spring release? I thought. Isn't it like April 2020?
You're probably correct.
Yeah, I thought it was their quarter 2 release, because they usually do a quarter 1-2 release. This year it was the beginner box, and then they usually do a Gen Con release and then a quarter 4 release. And so this year the Gen Con release is Alien Archive. That just got delayed because of all the Pathfinder stuff, and then you have Com this as the amazing, much needed quarter 4 release.
And the beginner box is the reason it feels like it's been forever since we've gotten a piece of product. Because while the beginner box is a nice thing to exist, and I'm glad it exists, and it will help out a whole lot of people learn Starfinder and get connected with the game, experienced players really aren't interested in that product. It doesn't help us. It doesn't make our game better. It's a subset of a game we are already playing. And so basically it feels like, and it's really kind of true, we haven't seen anything since Alien Archive 2.
Yeah, and I think another big, I don't know if I'm going to call it a problem, but another thing that happens is like when Starfinder was pitched to us way back in 2016, does that sound right? 2016, or was it 2017?
16.
16. We were told that like the production schedule was going to be slower, which it has been, but we were told that like part of that was that they were going to put articles in the back of Adventure Path volumes to kind of get that old school Paizo feel. But I don't know how you feel about it, but with the exception of like 1 or 2 volumes, I feel like most of the Adventure Path volumes don't really add much to the player facing side of Starfinder.
Well, we did a whole episode about that, and you know, the math just doesn't add up. I mean, there's some fun stuff in the back matter of all the AP volumes, yes, but because Starfinder AP volumes are 64 pages, not 96 pages, they don't have the space really to do it right. So Starfinder's getting cut at every angle for content.
Yeah, very disappointing. I'm hoping that, and so part of me says, oh man, I really hope that, you know, they can push up production value, but they're gonna have to. I know that they announced that they're bringing some new people in, but I imagine that losing Owen and Chris and having to get newer people up to speed is going to take time on that too. So we'll see. I think Starfinder is a great game, and it deserves so much more than what it's currently getting.
Right.
But we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But that's one of the reasons we're monthly now, is because there's just not a lot to talk about with Starfinder on a regular basis.
Yeah. James is back.
But
You escaped from the otters.
They're stones. There is a I think counterpoint, especially if you don't necessarily have all the stuff that you'd initially need, is one of the bigger complaints that I've heard for people about Pathfinder and about when the game stopped becoming Pathfinder to them was when they got deluged with monthly player companions with a ton of options. So like a core game is not the same game that you play now in Pathfinder.
No.
And you're starting to see that now when you're going to 2E and you're like, oh, yeah, I have some options that were like expansion options before, but like, oh, my spell list for being a wizard is only like 25 spells at 3rd level. What's this? What? I don't have all the power in the world. So by making people not be burdened with options, they get to enjoy what they have. And when you do put out something, you have the ability to make sure it's good and what you want it to be, and not under the stress of getting done in a way that you go, well, this might, you know, instead of, the math might be a little wonky on this, but at least as long as people like it, it's fine. And then that becomes a terrible option. Like, what is it that in Pathfinder, an example, the trait, if you follow Erastil, where you ignore cover from a friendly ally, which is as good as a 10th level feat. Yeah. So like, if you get to stay out of that type of territory, it sucks for like our show. And it sucks if you really are a voracious consumer, but at the rate that most people play this game, getting options every half year, quarter of a year, it kind of fits when you're getting between new games.
I think that there is a happy medium that is somewhere between Pathfinder 1 and current Starfinder. I think that we could use more, but I do agree that too much can be a problem. And
not to bring up the big looming elephant in the room, D&D's release schedule, I believe they put out, what is it, like a book a year?
Like, they have released a grand total of 1 player option book in D&D 5.
Well, no, they did Xander's. Well, they do setting books, which sometimes allow you new things. Right. They gave...
And adventures. They published 2 adventures a year.
Well, I know the Ravnica book has some content in it for players.
Ravnica.
Oh, that's the second book then. Yeah.
Yeah, Xander's Guide.
I don't think there's. I think Xander's Guide for Everything is the only book that is like dedicated to players' options. But every book has some. It's just not their. But I mean, like, I think it's different for 5e than it is for Starfinder, because in 5e you make a grand total of 2 major choices. You pick your class, and then you pick like your subclass, like your archetype, or your rogue steely crime background or whatever. And I don't remember all the names. I'm not great at it. I'm sorry.
I played one game of 5e. I don't know.
I played like 3 or 4, but like you make those 2 major choices, and then other than those, unless you're swapping ability score increases for feats every 5 levels, like you don't get a lot of choice. But in Starfinder, almost every class has a choice they can make every level. So when those choices stay static and they don't change for an entire year, that does kind of feel like a game that doesn't really get supported. So I think that if they had more, it would be good. But I also agree that going the Pathfinder route and putting out a companion book and a campaign setting book and 2 player option books that are 255 pages a year is probably too much content.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but like this is a product being put out by Paizo. There's a certain amount of expectation there. We're not expecting Starfinder to be the 5e release schedule. This is the company that was literally putting out 4 books a year for Pathfinder. And now that we look at Pathfinder 2, they're concentrating the page counts into hardcovers, but that page count didn't go down. That page count stayed the same. And if you look at the release schedule for PF2 going into next year, there will be more books released for PF2 next year than the entirety of Starfinder put together.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I wish there was more.
Yeah.
Like I am at the point with my envoy where I go, what feats do I care about? I can just not take a feat for the rest of that character's career and probably be fine. At least from like a personal option perspective. But I do like new choices, new options, new archetypes. I think archetypes are some place where Starfinder can improve, because a lot of them give a lot of really bad traits. A lot of them just aren't good.
Oh yeah, I think especially a lot of the ones in the core rulebook, they aren't great. I know there are a couple in some of the Aeon Throne ones. I haven't looked at them yet. Like the stewards have a bunch of archetypes in Aeon Throne 3. So yeah, I think that there is a general room for more and for growth. And also, like, the first player book is kind of where the game shows its course, I guess you could say. Like, how many times have you heard people say that Pathfinder 1 wasn't Pathfinder until the Advanced Player's Guide? Right. And when the folks did the Paizo 29 and Beyond, Jason Bowman flat out said that, like, they envisioned the foundation of Pathfinder as being core rulebook, bestiary, game mastery guide, and the Advanced Player's Guide. So, like, they consider, like, that book as part of what is going to make Pathfinder going forward.
I mean, it's it was the first player's book being announced for Pathfinder 2 is basically what COM is supposed to be for Starfinder.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that book. So excited.
Although COM doesn't have any new ancestries/races, but it really doesn't need them.
Starfinder has been just flooding us with races.
They've been proudly proclaiming that they have like 100 playable races at the panels.
But I love it. I'm so glad they have 100 playable races. I think it's fun to be able to say that that 99% of monsters that you come into contact with are playable. I think that's cool. I think it's just one of Starfinder's strengths, personally.
Yeah. I don't really have that same table of freak sensation that I do with sometimes with Pathfinder, where you're just like, what are all these elemental outsider people doing here in this small village in Sandpoint?
Do you mean like our Eyes of the Ten, where nobody was human?
God.
we had Volsanthus was closest at half
elf, yeah.
But I was playing my Kitsune, and then Robin was playing her Sylph, and then our friend Tom was playing his Ifrit. So, like, we had 2 elemental dudes, my Fox Boy, and then Volsanthus, I guess, is the normal one. But all he did was summon a chittering childlike psychopath that giggled evilly.
Yeah, and now it's invisible all the time, so deal with that nightmare. But
oh no!
Also, I stab creatures with my Masterwork Long Spear at 15th level. Don't knock until you tried it.
Well, no, at 15th level, you go under Cinnamon's blanket and just stay there for the whole fight.
Help. So, like, the breadth of races, I think, is something that is not going to change, and we'll get.
And it's so good.
Freakier.
Oh, it's did you hear some of the things they were talking about in like the panels? Rob McCreary was telling me down on the show that one of the things they did, which I guess was announced during the panel, but like one of the new races in Alien Archive 3 is like a dual consciousness creature that they both consciousness inhabit the same body, and every day you can swap the consciousnesses.
Huh. I did not. I must not have been there for that panel. That sounds cool.
Oh, maybe they took it out, and I hope I was. I got told about this. It's a thing that exists.
Hey, I was not there for every Starfinder panel. Also,
That's
once
fair.
again, sleep addled. My brain, it was mush.
Yeah, I was at most of the panels, and I couldn't tell you all the things that were on them because I was paying attention to now it's camera 1, now it's camera 3, mute mic 3, now camera 2, now camera 1, mute mic 4.
Well, that was something that I was told. Hopefully, it doesn't matter that it's because shipping emails went out today anyway. So, sorry if I wasn't supposed to talk about that, Rob. My bad.
Maybe stop apologizing for it. Drawing
Yeah,
giant
no.
attention, blinking
Don't-
red
don't-
arrow saying blame Alex and take away all his writing opportunities now.
Oh, don't. Why are you just adding on to that?
Go
Pam?
larger. Go larger. Maybe start prostrating. No. There's
Just spoil more stuff. I've already. They can't punish me any more than they already will.
I'm trying to remember. There was at least from one of the panels. I had just asked a personal question about the Android awakening process,
Yeah.
where they switch bodies, and apparently that was intentionally left vague, so you can just fill in whatever as long as it's not too weird.
Oh yeah. Well, James is going to do extra weird then.
I mean, like, you probably shouldn't like resurrect your android's new form in like, a coffin filled with the blood of a bunch of small animals and rise from the depths with an evil soul or something. Like, maybe don't do it that way, but like, it's pretty open, which I thought was pretty cool because I didn't think
Very.
it was that way. I just thought it was not finished.
And
So we've talked about. Oh, go ahead, Param. I'm sorry.
And to put a positive spin on everything we've been talking about is the advantage of the slow release schedule is that with the exception of the Starfinder core rulebook, which had a lot of editing mistakes that had to be corrected, the books we have gotten have been very high quality products. Would have been considered some of the best books released for Pathfinder if they were Pathfinder books.
I still think Starfinder looks better than Pathfinder 2e, but that's a personal opinion.
Well,
Yeah.
the layout, yes, but I meant like the content of the books are great.
Yeah, when you do get books, you do get good ones. I do wish bestiaries weren't counted like how player option or GM option books are. Like, I know bestiaries are GM option books, but it's like, oh boy, a bestiary. I'm not somebody who generally builds a lot of my own encounters, except when I would like to plop something fun into an adventure path.
Well,
You've done that like once or twice.
I'm glad we have 100 species, but honestly, how often does a player get to change species?
Yeah. See, Param, the issue is you have to start out as a winter wolf and get in with a party of freaks, and then you just have to die a lot and hope that they only know reincarnate as a spell.
Oh my
And
god!
just try not to freeze in the snow.
Ask me that question again in December, Param. Moving on. So we talked about Near Space. We talked about Alien Archive 3. That means, and we talked about the Deck of Many Worlds. That means there's only one product that they talked about that we haven't mentioned, but we've talked about it a lot. But it's also a really fun book to talk about. We should probably say something about Calm.
Okay, what is there to talk about Calm, Alex?
Calm is amazing and everybody needs it, and you think you know how much you need it, but you don't know how much you actually need it until it comes out, and then you'll see how much you really needed it all along.
I am very excited for it. I want everything that's in it. Once again, this might be in the panels, and this might be a sleep-addled brain, but they were talking about changes to the classes, and one of the changes for the biohacker was just letting you automatically hit your allies with your darts.
That's good.
Yeah.
Can you just imagine all the Shivi buffs? Listen. Shivi buffs. It's gonna be great.
But so
Yeah,
once again, I
I'm
have to look
helping.
through that to make sure I'm not crazy with sleep deprivation. But that was one of the ones that I had heard.
You've been pretty consistently saying that since your sleep deprivation started and ended, so I'm gonna say it's probably something accurate.
Right.
Nah. I like to parse my information. Information is nothing without context.
Context is nothing without information.
True. But yeah, it's the upcoming book in October that has 3 new classes: the Biohacker, Vanguard, and Witchwarper that we got a playtest of a couple months ago. They really seem to have taken that playtest to heart, which is really great. I didn't really have any concerns that they wouldn't after seeing what they did with other playtests for classes and other systems beforehand. But yeah, so it looks like they're taking that to heart. So if they do another playtest thing, maybe for other games or something, participate in it and give good feedback.
Also, do an actual play podcast and make about a third of your cast into these special classes.
Yeah, do that. That will definitely allow them to get more test data.
Well, it does when you have one of the lead of Starfinder as one of your players.
Oh, and who might that be, Param?
Amanda
Who could
Hammond.
possibly? She goes up and says, "Joe Passini, we need to buff the Vanguard. I missed this fight one time." No, Amanda would never do that. But it's really funny to imagine her joking, because she would definitely joke about it. She
Well,
would
we-
definitely.
Let's not cast assumptions on what Amanda will do and will not do.
I would do it.
I mean, we know you would.
Didn't you write a whole feat chain for a character
Yes.
or something like that?
Yeah, I wrote an entire. I wrote Star Toss style, and so I was told I had to write weapon styles for all the different weapon groups, but I wrote Star Toss style specifically so that my swashbuckler would work.
Good grief, Alex.
When Owen asked me to, I put in the sidebar, I'm writing this so that my thrown dagger swashbuckler will work. This is why it will work if you do it this way. And Owen was like, "Great! One of the advantages of being a writer is that you can make your characters work. Here you go."
But yeah, so it's the character operations manual should be a lot of fun. Speaking about Amanda, there's also talk about the favorite characters and stuff like that. And generally, Paizo people seem to get a certain sphere of influence in the fictional world of the game that they're working on. And hers is the Demai, which are those grayskin humanoids.
Yep.
And
They're the Attack on Titaneers.
yeah. So the place with a bunch of kaijus, and she had mentioned in the panel trying to get things like mecha armor or mecha into that world. So, and it was unfortunately cut from prior books. So maybe in the future, maybe we see a Demai setting book or something.
Maybe
Or-
in the future we just get mecha adventures,
Yeah.
mobile suit adventures.
Demai Rim or whatever. I'm ready for it.
My Ren. Yeah, costly. It's gonna be good. I'm excited. Fun stuff. Wow. So I guess we talked about everything that we have heard about Starfinder. What are your guys' thoughts on the coming year of Starfinder since we're going into 2020?
I mean, it certainly looks like it's going to be a better year than 2019 has been for the game. I mean, the fact that the beginner's box took up one of the development slots for this game. I mean,
Well, so I mean, when Pathfinder did the beginner box too, it took up a core rulebook slot as well, but you don't really miss those as much because the player companions and the setting guides are still coming out. I really think that because Starfinder only has APs and the hardcovers, when one of those hardcovers goes to something atypical, you feel it a lot more than you would in Pathfinder.
especially since we
Yeah.
only get the one a year,
The one hardcover?
the one player option book a year. And
Oh,
was-
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I wish we would have gotten out of it just a soft cover rulebook. That's all I ever want. I just want soft cover rulebooks that are smaller.
Yeah, they said that was a priority. I kind of
Yeah.
hope that the pocket edition of the Starfinder book comes out because, man, I do not like carrying anything but the pocket edition Pathfinder books.
I agree.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised that we got the deluxe 2E rulebook and not a pocket edition to go with it. I guess
Well, errata. They need to wait for errata before they make the pocket editions.
that's fair. I
Yeah.
guess. But I
Oh
want
yeah,
the-
that was another thing. Just real quick about the panels. The reason why they haven't done any new printings of Starfinder with the updated Starship stuff like that is just they had more stores than they initially planned. Like they didn't exactly explain what that meant, but just hey, when we get to that point, that might be something we do. So who knows? Maybe a year from now.
So here's a question: did we ever talk about the fact that They made more announcements about the WizKids, the Ninja Division situation, and who's handling
Oh,
those.
we
minis.
never did
Oh,
touch
yeah.
that. No, no,
Yeah,
no.
Param, go ahead.
Or-
You probably have a better
You
holistic
You,
view of
also-
that than I do.
you assume way more than
You should
I
also
did not
talk
prep
about
that
how
for this episode.
you should also talk about how Wizards is doing a pre-painted plastic line now, right? Didn't
We-
they announce that they were doing pre-painted plastic Starfinder minis?
Yeah, we talked about that last episode though. So
Did we? I thought last episode was a demi planet.
Yeah.
okay,
We may
so,
have gotten to it in news roundup, but go ahead, Param.
WizKids, they're going to be doing pre-painted plastic Starfinder minis, just like they do the pre-painted plastic minis for Pathfinder. It's going to be great. I'm trying to pull up the news for this, gang.
Well, while you're pulling it up, do you know what I really hope they do, James?
Hmm?
So, do you remember way back in the day they had that really small set of minis for goblins for WizKids, where like it was you bought a booster pack and it just had like 2 or 3 goblins in it?
Yes.
I want that, but I want Skittermanders, and I want every Skittermander to come in like 6 different color variants. So like it's the same model, but one of them is red and one of them is blue and one of them is yellow. And so like you have like 6 or 7 models, but each of them come in a different color. So in all, you really have something like 42 minis to collect to get them in every color. And so that way you have armies of Skittermanders. You have Skitter swarms, actually.
I would like that. I think a reduced price would probably be what people would like on that as compared to the regular booster, because people generally go for like item
Yeah.
equipment, and then they go after like little stuff like that to get the perfect one if they're into that. But yeah, no. I think
Well,
that's a fun idea.
you have 7 minis, right? You have 1 for each of the classes. I guess you could do 9 now that or you could have 10 now that there's classes. But so you have a mini for each of them, and those minis all come in 6 different colors, and those are the commons. And then you have for the rares, your pack can sometimes have one of the iconic Skittermanders. And so they don't have color swap values. They're just them, and they look super pretty and nice because they're the iconics. But all the other ones, they're just rank and file Skitter soldiers.
I mean,
think
it
that'd
could
be
be
good.
done. Pazzo did do a box of goblins.
Yep, that's why I brought it up. It'd be hilarious. They should do it.
So
Also, they should give me my dice bags.
yeah, we're not quite ready for Gen Con. So
They
here's
were
the thing.
locked up. And they just wanted to help everybody at the com, all 70,000 people, and they were just kept in the case. They couldn't help anybody.
We have news now. So Paizo,
Right.
as you do know, partnered with Ninja Division famously to make the Masterclass Starfinder miniatures. It was a Kickstarter. It was way well funded. And then Ninja Division dropped the ball, like they did with most of their other Kickstarter projects. That was bad. A lot of people
was
are
very
currently waiting for minis that they haven't gotten. Some people have gotten some of their minis. Some people have gotten none of their minis. Some people have gotten none of their minis, and stores are currently selling the minis they should have gotten. It's a big mess. We've talked about this a lot on the podcast. It really bites. But as a glimmer of hope in the horizon, Archon Studios has stepped up to the plate to take over that project. They will be fulfilling all the backers of the original project, as well as producing miniatures in the future. Archon Studios has a strong track record of Kickstarter successes. They have 6 funded and delivered Kickstarters in their background, all in the miniature wargaming space. In fact, they have another Kickstarter going right now that I'm really tempted by, called Dungeons and Lasers, which is a neat take on 3D dungeon terrain that have a sci-fi set and a fantasy set, and it's like the walls are separate from the floors and it all snaps together like Lego. And it's like stupidly cheap. Like $300 will get you what would take thousands of dollars to get in Dwarven Forge, and it looks real nice. Now, so I'm kind of tempted on that. And it's Starfinder. They have a full sci-fi set too, and you can mix and match your pledge. It just looks tempting. I just wanted to bring it up. I don't know if I'm going to pledge in on that or not, but so they have a strong track record of success. They've made beautiful miniatures in the past. They're making some beautiful miniatures and some stuff that would fit for both our Pathfinder and Starfinder fans right now. And let's hope that this means that this long belabored disaster has a happy ending after all.
Yeah. Good luck, everybody. Also, nobody bought those miniatures in the store. Did you know how stupid expensive those things were?
I know, it was like $40 for 5 minis. Nuh-uh.
There are people, I've seen people who have them, and I'm like, wow, I wish I had that kind of disposable income, but I don't.
No, it wasn't disposable. They were angry. That was a rage purchase. They're like, I don't want to do this, but I have to. They were not happy buying those. They might be happy with, what they have, but they were not happy buying that.
Yes.
All right, everyone. I think that just about wraps us up for the evening. We're coming up on time. Thank you, everyone who has joined us in the audience. If you wish to find more of this great show and other content on the No Direction Network, you can do so at NoDirectionPodcast.com, where you will also find the link to our Discord server. Our Discord server where you can chat with the No Direction community and fans of Starfinder and Pathfinder content, as well as, anime and mecha, and we have a meme just for posting, a meme board just for posting cute pictures of animals on. If you want to chat with us or any of our fans, it's the best place to do it. It's a super, super chill community. We make sure that it is welcoming to everyone, and everybody has a great time on there. Also, if you wish to support this program and see the more content like No Direction Beyond, No Direction Adventurous, No Direction Prime, or Stellar keeps happening, you can do so by supporting us on Patreon. It is through your pledges that we are able to keep this thing funded. Keep the bills paid, y'all! And you all help us do so. Very recently, your pledges has helped us upgrade the audio equipment that you will soon hear on Stellar. So Stellar will be a better podcast thanks to your all's help. Thank you all so much.
Y'all did it. We were so proud of y'all.
All right, everyone.
Thank you.
I'm practicing just in case I could die and I need a new
See if he's
character.
gonna just adopt a Southern accent, a really bad Southern accent.
I might do it as like if Shivi gets frustrated trying to speak with somebody in common, thinking that Southern draws are like the equivalent of the American Midwest accent.
Well, if official Paizo staff are to be believed when playing with them at tables, the Vesgarium is Louisiana.
Oh, I can't do that.
Down by the bayou.
That's too much work.
All right.
I'm just gonna talk Philadelphian. It'll be great.
All right, babe, we're gonna sign off here. So until next time, go beyond with No Direction.